So today we're talking about this is really an important subject to me: mentoring, collaborating, and then multiplying your success. And this can be done in a million different ways in your business. And normally I'd go to Kim, but he's not there yet. Where are you, Kim? But I want to touch on each of these a little bit, and I'll talk for a few minutes, and we'll go from there. Again, summertime's a little challenging putting this stuff together sometimes, right? Even on our thing here, we normally have 50, 60 people. We have 24 right now. So I'm a huge believer, and those of you that know me, I live by gratitude, right? And I really have driven my life on gratitude. Um, so I'm going to take a few minutes here. There's Matt, and go. Actually, we'll start with Matt and Cam first, and then I'll speak. Hey, Matt, I'm glad I'm not the only
Hey,
one here.
hey, what are we?
Like we're all my peeps. I'm all by myself.
What are we
Um,
talking about?
so we're
I don't.
talking about um, mentoring, collaborating, and multiplying your success. So I was just getting into a little bit on how I built my entire business, my entire life, honestly, the last 30, 40 years on gratitude and helping other people by mentoring other people and stuff. But yeah, so really, like, how are you collaborating with other people? And I know you and Diane and Ross do a lot of that. How do you help other people, and then how do you multiply your business like you've done?
Well, the big question.
A
Yeah,
very
so
big
I do.
question.
So I think it's a great idea in our business. I've been, I've had a team at some points in my real estate career, and in some points I've been more of really a solo agent. But um, I have in the last 2 years. Brought in Diane Mills, who is has a background in media, but also is just a very talented individual in a lot of ways. And you know, real estate's a very time-consuming business, as we all know. And what I was finding is I was spending all my time selling real estate. I didn't have any time really to do attraction. And so I brought in Diane as a partner, and now we brought in Ross as a partner to do to so that we can do attraction because frankly I got tired of going to EXP events and sitting next to people and seeing their RevShare dashboard and you know saying why haven't I done that? So and the reality is I just felt like I just didn't have the time or whatever but I'm also very I think that's one point. I think even in your real estate business I see a lot of agents that team up with other agents, which I think is a really good idea, as a matter of fact, because you can't be everywhere at once. And also I'm primarily a listing agent. You're not going to have, when you go on a listing appointment, right, you may not be that seller's cup of tea, but your partner may be, right? So I find that that's a really good approach. And I see a lot of, for example, top listing agents will have, that might be sometimes a husband and wife, but sometimes just a team, male and female, that goes out on appointments. But, I think anybody that's been in this business a while and has um, benefited from having mentors or just having people that at some point in their career they were able to ask questions and get answers and get guidance. Um, and I've definitely had those people. In fact, I don't think he's on the call today, but I always tell a great story back in the day when I was a brand new agent and I went to I was with Remax at the time. This is probably 25 years ago. And I went to an award ceremony. I was brand new. I hadn't sold a house yet. And the broker told me to go to the award ceremony. That way I could meet all the top producers. And after I watched all these people get trophies, I went around and asked them, I said, "Hey, my name's Matt. I'm a brand new agent. Would you have any advice for me?" And everybody that I asked basically blew me off and didn't want to give me any advice because they looked at me like a competitor. But there was one guy, there was a young man named Dennis D'Souza that actually gave me some good advice. And I never ever forgot that. And when Pete and Dennis reached out to me about EXP, I was very, very open to listening what they had said because I always remembered that my interaction with Dennis way back when. So whenever anybody on this call, by the way, I'm always very, very quick to help people. I'm an open book. I think I think everybody here in our group at EXP is an open book as far as, giving advice to newer agents or just agents that are struggling. The truth is this market is a difficult market, and it really should not be underestimated. The last few years have been more difficult than any years I've been in real estate. So I know agents that have been in this business as long as I have who are really, really struggling. So don't be, I guess the lesson is don't be afraid to reach out for advice to people because this is, the last few years have been very difficult years, I think, for all of us. I hope that answers your question, but I guess the takeaway from me, the takeaway for me is that I'm always available to help people, give advice, mentor, etc.
And something you said on that's really important is I want you guys to really understand what Matt said there because I don't think a lot of people understand the depth of what you just said. The impression that you make on people today will affect your life 20 years from now. And I'll tell you, several of the people that have joined me at EXP are here because of the way I treated them when they first got in the business. And I was just like Dennis, and anybody that wanted help, I didn't care who you were or what. I don't ever look at competition. Anyway, anybody wanted help, I help. And I've had so many people say, Mitch, I did my first transaction with you, and you were so helpful. Like everybody else I did transactions with were mean to me and yelled at me. You were just so helpful. I remember this one girl I had she sent me an offer that was ridiculously bad. Not the offer, the contract. And I sent it back. I go, do you have a broker? She goes, yeah, but he's always out selling, so I don't ever get to talk to him. And this is 15 years ago. And I go, I can't let you submit this offer. I go, I could take advantage of you because I looked you up and I know this is your first sale. And I could literally beat you bad, but I'm not going to do that. I go, I want to walk you through the offer. And I taught her on the phone because we didn't have Zoom back then. I taught her on the phone, line by line, what she had to do with that offer to make it a good offer. And she's still to this day, by the way, she's not with EXP, but she's still to this day, every time I see her, she gives me a hug and says, oh, you're the best, you're the best. And so, I don't ever do things with ulterior motives. I do things from the heart. And when you do things from the heart, that's what makes your life go around. So, Kim, you're up, bud. Great stuff, man.
Hey, guys. So this is a good topic, I think, today. I think this is going to be a little bit more interesting or a little different than what we're normally doing. Having mentorship, coaching, or someone that has a system that you can plug into your business is how businesses continue to run. Because I've now been lucky enough to go through multiple cycles of this industry, which I don't think many people have in terms of, if you look at the majority of agents and how long they've been in the business, it seems like, 4 to 7 years for most successful agents is what a lot of people are, that's kind of how long they've been in the business. That's their expertise. But the challenge is this market goes in cycles that are much bigger than just 4 to 7 years, right? They're more like 15, 17-year cycles. And, thankfully I've been through my whole career and my whole life, been growing up in a real estate household and a real estate family and going to a lot of paid coaching, which is how I, mainly got all of my mentorship and all of my experience when I was younger was through paid coaching. That's just the only way that it used to really be done. Now, obviously, with groups like ours here at the Tribe, and tons of groups now that are doing kind of the same similar thing where they're trying to be more helpful. But we were the original ones. We were one of the first groups that were doing it. Like Mitch was saying, he's been doing this 15, 20, 25 years now, rather than for the last 6 months, like a lot of groups. And the thing about this is that, just like traditional real estate, which we'll say traditional real estate means being a buyer's agent or being a listing agent, the cycles of real estate, they never change. So if you know it works in this specific type of market, this next cycle, when it goes on either now or in 10 years from now, the same things are going to work. So when you can plug into a team or a mentorship group like ours here, or if you are a team leader, the biggest challenge, at least I have found, is how do we know it's working when it hasn't been proven yet? Or how do we know it's working in the market that's going to be coming up? How do we see into the future? And obviously that's what I do all day long, is I'm testing stuff. I'm trying to figure out what's working, what's not working, so I can give it off to other agents, and I can kind of do trickle down education, right? So I try something and it works, and then I can give it to someone else, and they can buy into it and give it to more people. And by having someone out there like myself or Mitch or Matt or anyone here that's on this weekly call, we are trying so much. We're constantly spending money. That's really the truth. It's spending money to see if there's a tool that we can implement into our business in the current market that will perform better than the other tools we're using. Or maybe we want to keep both tools and we want to just grow together. But this, for me, has been the single biggest change in my business, because for years and years and years, anytime that I wanted any type of good advice or any type of, let's say, mentorship or any type of system, I had to pay for it. I mean, it was $1,000. I think at one time we were paying $2,000 a month just to have someone that was willing to talk with you and go over and see what your numbers are, how you're performing, all the things that we're doing as the group here, completely free now. We've opened it up. We've kind of unlocked that barrier for everyone, which allows everyone that's on this call. I know this week was a little bit down. We're almost up to 50 people right now listening, but everyone that's on this call, you have the ability to plug in these systems that we're using completely free. You don't need to give us $2,000 this month or $3,000 or $10,000. I know some of the coaches these days are charging like $18,000 for a session. Good for them. But that kind of stuff for most people is just not accessible. So when you're an agent, you're trying to figure out what's working. Like Matt was saying, the first thing I recommend you do is you grab onto somebody's coattail that's having success right now. Okay. And that might be a little uncomfortable. That's just the truth, is not everyone wants to reach out and be like, hey, I see you're having a lot of success. You want to get a cup of coffee? That could be kind of an awkward conversation. At the same time, you have to remember, this is our business. Okay. Work it's not supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be joyous. It's not supposed to be like, exciting to make these uncomfortable. No, this is the business. This is the hard part of this business. And if you're not having the success that you want to have, I highly recommend reaching out to multiple agents in your market that are having the success. It's easy to look up. It's easy to see who's selling stuff. And what I have found, just like Matt just said there, is that a lot of people will blow you off. That's okay. That's expected. Everything in this business, the more no's you get, the better, because that means you're a little bit closer to the yes, right? The more no's you have, the closer you are to the yes. And when you're trying to find someone that wants to give away a little bit of gold or a little bit of their nuggets, you will find someone. It's just going to take a few questions and probably 3, 4, maybe 5 people you reach out to. Half of them will totally ignore you. One person will say, no, can't, too busy. And then the fifth person will say, I'd love to. And that is, in my opinion, the just surefire way to get started. And then you can start making local connections too, which, as this market gets more challenging and as, more inventory comes on the market, and there's certain agents in every area that have a dominance of market share, or they have more listings than everybody, they have more buyers than everybody. If you can get in connection with these agents, you have a direct line to help yourself when you have your listings or when you have buyers and you can't find the perfect property for them. You're just building those network, and that you're building that connections locally. But also, they're going to be giving you those little nuggets that you can implement and directly plug into your business, that I've seen just incredible results with, because It's not rocket science. That's the thing about this business is what's working or what works. It's going to continue working. It's going to be something that anyone can add into their business if they're willing to do the work. But most of us just simply do not have the time, energy, or ability to create out of nothing systems or programs or different techniques that are actively working as the market changes, because we're trying to work our current business, our current activity. And when you have to try to, do what I do all day, which is, well, maybe this system will work. Let me try it and implement it for 6 weeks, and nope, that hasn't worked. Let me try this one. It's very hard to keep on a very consistent sailing point, which for most single or small teams, the goal is really consistency. You want to be having 2 or 3 sales a month. You don't want to have those months that you have 3 and then 2 months with 0 and then 3. And when you can buy into, or you can get into a group that is masterminding, and they're the ones that are actually doing all the work for you, you can just pick and choose the things that you want to add into your business. So, obviously there's not a ton to talk about here with mentorship. I think it's vital. If you don't have a mentor or you don't have a coach that you're paying for, you need to have somebody that's on your side, that's willing to do what we do, which is, simply just tell you what's working for us, what we're doing, what we've stopped doing. Obviously, that's a big one. I stopped doing quite a few things here in the last about 12 months because the ROI just completely disappeared. We were getting, it was shoot, at Google was charging us a fortune. They were doing $500 to $700 a click or a lead. And they just weren't buying. So before you know it, you get 4 or 5 or 6 leads from Google, and all of a sudden you're into it $5,000, and it's just not financially doable. So if you're in our market, we're not recommending you do that. With that said, we've switched over to other things, and obviously one of the kind of bedrocks or the foundations is the social media thing, which as the markets slow down, in my opinion, as the economy slows down a little bit and people are spending less time out doing the fun stuff, people spend more time on their phones. People spend more time in front of the screens, which isn't good. That's not something I want them to do. But if you can put yourself on that screen, you just have converted a way that really works. So for mentorship, for coaching right now with how we're doing it, at least how I'm doing it, my goal every single day is trying to do trickle down education, meaning I find something that works. I want to give it to my people and give it to everyone, you guys that are here. And then I want you to take that and give it to the people you're working with, or if you're, solo agent or a small team, use it for yourself, exploit it, really use it. That's like the best R&D you can do is when you have someone else doing all the research for you. So I really think in this market, if you're struggling, instead of trying to beat a dead horse, so to speak, go out there, find somebody that's doing it a little differently, grab onto what they're doing, work with them, and you'll find some just incredible partnerships that'll get your business through this little more challenging market. And it'll also set you up so that when the system or when the cycle happens again, you're going to be the people that agents can help. You can help other agents, which, that's really the goal, is having that ability to leave something, help people, grow people. And, if you're as fortunate as I am, you'll have people that take onto it and they actually do 2 or 3 or 4 times more than you've ever done, which is really cool. That's the most rewarding thing. And then that's way that you can maneuver through these markets. You can always manage these markets. No market is bad. You just need to know what works. And the fun part is that the things that worked in 2008 and the things that worked in 92 and the things that worked in 86, they still work today. And in obviously a little bit more, a little bit different scale and a little bit more technology advanced, but the bedrock or the foundation of those systems are still working. So I truly believe having that and being able to just, R&D, use what they're doing. You can even ask them how they're doing it specifically, how they're doing it better. Not everyone will help you, but there will be people like Dennis, like myself, like Matt, like Mitch. We're here to help you. So those are my big thoughts on the mentorship thing. Is it's vital, especially as business changes and it shifts.
Yeah, Kim, I do have a question for you, though, Kim. Really important question. I want to know what you were doing in 1986.
Like I said, guys, family business here. I was lucky enough that I've heard these stories and I've, sat around the dinner table and listened to them. And I personally, obviously, wasn't even born yet. But my family, who was lucky enough to be in real estate, they were buying apartment buildings during that time. And that's part of my knowledge and part of my commercial experience is having that stuff, because what was it? Well, you guys know it was like 16% interest rates back then. Can you imagine buying, apartments? But they were only $1 million, so it wasn't that crazy now you think about homes these days. But still, I mean, wow, can you imagine dealing it through a 16% interest rate now? We're all freaked out over 7. Well, the guys that had went through 16, or I'm sure you guys are, oh, it used to be 22 at one point. You guys are not even panicked because you know the world won't end. You know the market's going to keep going, and you know how to navigate it. And that's the secret to having a mentor or having a coach, I think, and is always being able to be one step ahead of what the market is doing.
Yeah.
My first house, I paid 14%. So it was a long thing. Matt, do you have something you want to say?
14%.
Yeah, I was going to just add, something that I've always done over the years is go to lots of conferences, events. When I first got in the business, I immediately went to Craig Proctor, who's actually still around. Back then, we had to fly up to Toronto, Canada to go to those events. And, I still keep in touch with a lot of the people that I met. I mean, gosh, I met Jay Kinder there when he was like 19 years old. And so I met a lot of people at those events and I learned a lot at those events. And so, there's a lot of real estate trainers out there. They're kind of all teaching practically the same thing, just different variations on the theme. But a lot of these events you can go to and they're not very expensive. You don't necessarily have to sign up for, the super expensive coaching program that they're selling there. Most of the models right now for events are getting you, giving you a free ticket to go or giving you a very inexpensive ticket to go. And if you can go to one that's close by, obviously you don't have to travel, but you will always learn a ton by going. I don't care if it's Mike Ferry or Tom Ferry or Craig Proctor or any of these different trainers. You'll learn a ton by going to those things. And so I think it's also really important to keep learning all the time. And look, everybody copies off everybody.
Yeah.
But I think that it also gives you a jolt of adrenaline to your business when you go to one of these events. So I just went to Inman here in San Diego this past week, and it was all about AI. It was very, very interesting. It wasn't that highly attended, I think, because the way the market is, right? But we have EXPCon coming up in October, I believe. So I always think it's worth going to events because you really will learn a lot. It'll give you a shot in the arm for your business when you come back. But when you go to these events, part of it is taking lots of notes and learning, and the other part of it is interacting with people in other markets. Because I don't care what anybody says, we all like to say, well, my market's different. Your market's really not that different, right? So when I was at Inman, I ran into a buddy of mine that I've known for like over 20 years. His name is Anthony Lamacchia in Boston. And so we got to sit down and talk for a while and kind of compare notes. And it was actually really encouraging for me because some of the same changes that I've made in my business and my marketing, he's done the same. We did independent. We haven't talked in a long time, but so anyway, that's another good thing is if you have, agents that you meet at these events that are in other markets, a lot of times they're going to be, within our EXP group, we all share everything, but an agent in your marketplace sometimes is not going to be super forthcoming sharing. If they're not within our group, they're going to look at you like a competitor and they're not going to tell you what they're doing and et cetera. But if it's an agent in a different market, you're not a threat to them, right? So that's a good thing to do also. But there's a million events out there. Like I said, most of them are not that expensive. And if you can peel off for 2 or 3 days and go to one, you'll always get something out of it. So, and then of course there's a million things online too, right? So
And that's the key, right? Is get at least I being ADD, my goal when I go anywhere, and I'm still learning. I'm still 64 years old. I'm still cranking. Let me learn one thing wherever I go. I'm going to learn one thing. All right, I'm going to take a few minutes here because I love this subject, by the way. and I love it on the whole aspect of it. But there's a few parts of things I think are really important that have shaped me as who I am as a person, not a football guy, but just as a human. Um, but I want to go over these with you because they all kind of intermingle with all this stuff. So I'm going to just go through my list here. And by the way, I didn't make this list up. It's been shared with me, but I've added some stuff to it. First of all, the most important thing is do not stress about the uncontrollables. People do that all the time in our business, and not just in life. And some of this, by the way, is not just business; it's life lessons. Look, I learned a long time ago. I am not going to stress about things I can't control. I am not going to stress about something that happened 5 minutes ago because I can't change it. I can either learn from it or I could fail, and I don't. Failure is not in my vocabulary, right? So don't worry about the uncontrollables. Worry about things you can control. It's much easier. And this is a big one for real estate. Do not focus on the competition. There's a lot of people say, well, I'll never be like Matt, or I'll never be like Cam, or I'll never be short and cute and bald like Mitch. Don't worry about your competition because it's not relevant. This is what you are. I have an agent who just joined, and they're struggling. They've been doing well, and they're struggling right now. And he said, well, there's 6,000 realtors here. I go, no, there's not. He goes, yeah, I just looked at the numbers at the board. He goes, there's 6,000 realtors. I go, well, 2,400 did not have a sale last year. 2,300 additional had two or less, means one or two. So you talk about 5,000, more than 5,000 of the 6,000 haven't done anything. So don't look at the competition. It's a mental thing. Another one, and I do this on a daily basis, and I probably talked about it on here before, is I always don't look at myself for who I am today. It's who am I going to become? Who do I want to become? Like, what is the Mitch 5 years from now? If I'm still alive, who's the Mitch 5 years from now going to look like? And I've been doing that my whole life, by the way. I don't ever look at today because today's just a blip in time. What does 5 years from now look like? What does 3 years look like now? What does 1 year look like from now? And how do I get there? Right, so I'm always looking at what does the future Mitch look like? Really important. And Matt kind of touched on this a little. Personal development is more important than anything else you do. Like, you should always be working on yourself. I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan, been to multiple of his events. I'm constantly watching videos on personal development. Pete sent one to all of us the other day that was really good. I don't know if you guys watched that. It was really good on gratitude. And 99% of your blockages are in your brain. Actually, 99.9742224%, if you want to be exact, are blockages in your brain. And it's really up to you to navigate that. And when you go through personal development classes, whether it be Tony Robbins or anybody else out there, that Tony Robbins is my favorite one, you get so much introspect on yourself, and you realize that a lot of the stuff that you do that's blocking you is just stupid. Right? It's just stupid. So don't be stupid. Next one is this, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves in life. Do what you say you're going to do. Right? Everybody, I coached for free because I don't charge anymore. Anybody, because I just enjoy doing it. 250 agents in 2023 that I would say mostly were new or newer. All of them, 100% of them said, yes, I'm going to do that. Because when I coach someone, we figure out what works for you and then implement, right? Not one of them did it. Not one. And they're wondering why they're failing. Because if you don't do what you say you're going to do, then you're going to fail. And by the way, failure is not an option, right? I've lost, if those know my story, I've lost $82 million once. I spent 3 days crying in my bed drinking vodka and woke up and looked at myself with my face full of hair and looking worse than I look today. That was 20 years ago. And then looked in the mirror and go, what the hell are you doing? You didn't fail. You just lost $82 million. Get back into your ass and get back to work. And I did. And then within less than 2 years, my life was back to normal. Personal responsibility. This is another one. I can't tell you. This goes back even to my kids. And by the way, a lot of this stuff I learned from my dad. My dad was all about, he was a drill sergeant in the Korean War, and he taught me a lot of this stuff. And, personal responsibility. Your failure in your business or anything in your life right now is, yes, there are some things that You can't control health and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. But your lack of moving forward in your business is totally your fault. As Cam said, we were all here to help you, right? Everybody who's on this call, normally 8 of us or 9 of us, that today's only 3, we were all here to help you, right? And I don't know one person who's on this panel. We spend an hour a week on this call, right? We're all slammed, but all of us take the time every week to make sure we're here to help you guys get you on. I've told you guys this many times. I'll coach you one-on-one. I'm not going to do it every day, but if you want to get on a call and reevaluate business, reach out to me. I'll help you. That's all I do all day long. But part of being successful is identifying why you want to be somewhere. What's your purpose? My purpose, Pat. Pat. Most of you guys know Pat, my general manager for 20 years. When I started doing my coaching business for my, which by the way, I still keep not charging anybody. My coach is pissed at me right now. I think he's going to fire me. But when I decided to start teaching freedom this past 6 months, which has been really fun, Pat's like, why are you doing that? You're like in the mode where you're trying to slow down your life and not get there. And it's because I want to impact more people. That's my why. My kids are doing great. My grandkids are doing great. My wife's doing great. My family is very blessed. We don't have any, we all have issues, but, and I could talk a little bit of trash about one of my kids, but I won't. But the reality is we're doing good. And I really want to help people get to the next level. And that's why. So Pat's like, why are you doing this? Impact. All of us are on this call every week to impact you. And you have 2 choices when you leave here. And I've had a couple people reach out to me from our calls, whose businesses doubled and tripled because of this call, because they take what we're teaching them and they implement it. But what's your why? I'm always a big believer. I'm not a big motivation guy. I'm a discipline guy. I think I'll take discipline over motivation all day long. And so, when I look at things, I'm like, what do you do to keep yourself accountable to yourself? For me, it's the mirror. I think I've talked about that. I will for a few seconds if you haven't heard it before. It's called the mirror to your success. Every day, and I do this every single day now. I used to only do it a couple times a week. Now I do it every day. I look in the mirror and I look in my eyes and I beat the crap out of myself. Did I do this? Did I do that? And I'm really hard on myself. I have no expectations of anybody else in my life except myself. But here's the one thing: we're human beings, and we can rationalize all day long. We all do it. Cam does it. Matt does it. I do it. Every single person out here watching this right now does this. But when you look in the mirror and look in your eyes, deep in your eyes, you see your soul, and you cannot lie to yourself. In fact, when I first started doing this 40 years ago, started doing it in my early 20s. I would start laughing, like really, like belly laughing, because I knew I was full of shit. I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you didn't accomplish this yesterday because you were busy drinking beer or whatever. I wasn't really drinking beer, but whatever it was. But my point is your only person that's really going to keep you accountable is you, right? Now, we did talk about collaboration and stuff like that. Sometimes it's really good to have a collaboration partner where you're keeping each other accountable. The challenge with that is usually both people suck at it. And so nobody's actually keeping anybody accountable. But really important. Gratitude. I can't tell you how many people that I get on a call with every day, because I'm on 4, 5, 6 calls every single day, that are whining and bitching about their life. Look, there's not too many people that have had as hard a life as I've had. I've almost died twice. I've lost everything 3 times. There's not too many people who've gone down the roads that I've had. A lot of my close family, all my family members except my 2 brothers are dead. So it's been a hard life. But I'm still smiling. You know why? Because even though my worst freaking day is in my life, they're still better than 90% of the people out there. Right? So look at your life and find your gratitude, not your whiner. Right? Don't go for the whining. It doesn't work. Right? It doesn't bring you where you need to be. It brings you to the wrong direction. When you live by gratitude, everything happens. When you think positive, again, me as a human, I preach positivity. Like, that's why I make stupid jokes all the time, because I don't care about you laughing. I laugh. It makes me laugh. I'm all about me laughing. I don't care if you don't laugh. But it's all about having fun and being gratitude. Which brings me to the next most important part of this is contribution. Like, I've been in sales since I was 19. I've owned 27 companies. I own 4 right now. I built all of them. Have done well, not all of them done well. Some did really, really well. Some did okay. Some sucked. Obviously, I lost $82 million. I can't be that good at what I do, right? But I always do everything from the heart. And I do. And again, you can sit here and look at me and go, well, he's just trying to sell me stuff. And really, what am I trying to sell you? My $1,500 an hour coaching that I do for free. I'm not. I've always sold from the heart. Even when I sold houses, my slogan for selling houses, actually, several of my companies was, I don't sell you, I help you. I've talked people out of buying houses that were going to buy a house that was the wrong house for them to buy based on what they told me. Contribution. Help somebody else get what they want, and you'll get what you want. Zig Ziglar. I mean, it's the best line in the world, right? The other best line in the world, by the way, and I've probably said it on here before, is if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. By Henry Ford. Two of the best lines ever given. Help people get what they want, you'll get what you want, and if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Do not live by scarcity. And then Matt, you were touching on this, and Cam, you were too. There's all those people that are jerks out there that won't help you. There's 20 more per each one of those that will. Right? They will help you get where you want to go. All of us will help you get where you want to go. Here's my only rule when I do free coaching. Right? Is you got to do what you say. Do what you say you're going to do. I will not give you another coaching lesson if you don't do what you want. That's how I know the 250 people that I coached in 2023 didn't do what it was. I said, once you do the first step here, let me know. We'll have the second conversation. And well, 5 actually did the first step. Those 5 never did the third step, the second step rather. And then finally, I'm a huge universe guy. And sometimes I question it. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, when I lost $82 million, I was in the dumps. I mean, it was a really, really tough time. I lost everything in 1990. My kids and I lived on macaroni and cheese and hot dogs for a year and a half. At the same time, I lost everything. My dad died. Really, really hard times. But I've always believed that the universe works in funny ways. And sometimes, by the way, I think some of those punishments were for the crap that I did when I was younger. Then I wasn't as good of a person because I went through that stage too, right? And I used to blame when I lost $82 million. I'm just going to sit there. I sat there and I said, I shouldn't have done that when I was 18 years old or 17 years old or whatever. I should have called that girl Julie back. No, I'm kidding. Again, bad jokes. But the universe works in amazing ways, and if you can pay it forward, with my coaching stuff, when I do my freedom stuff, especially, people are like, "What do you want?" I go, "I want you to teach somebody else what I'm teaching you today." And that's what I want for all you guys out there right now. Share this stuff with everybody. Teach people this stuff because these classes every Thursday are life changing if you implement. And paying it forward is the best gratification. It's what makes me thrive because I love helping people and I get great satisfaction for that. I don't care about money. Money's great, but when you lose the amount of money I've lost in my life, you don't need $1 billion anymore. You need enough to have an enjoyable life, and that's it. The rest of it's about your family and your friends and helping as many people as you can. So anyways, I know that was a long-winded conversation of what I want to say, but I thought it was, I'm actually kind of glad we only had a few people on today because it gave me time to really go through this because I really wanted to go through this today when I looked at the subject. And then one more thing I'm going to say before we kind of kick it around real quick. How do you multiply your success, right? Which is part of this. You multiply your success by doing exactly what I just said. Everything I just said multiplies your success. You're going to get it in business. You're going to get it in friendships. You're going to get it in love, all that stuff. So, all right, you guys you want to say it, Matt? Yes.
I got a question for you and Cam, actually. So the market in Florida has really dropped, right? So in the last, year? This year specifically, or in the last year and a half, maybe?
It depends where you're at. We're coasting pretty good. Our market is decent. Well, here's the numbers. I mean, we have 3 times more listings than we had in 2021 right now. Mm-hmm. We have the exact same amount of sales that we had the last 2 years. Sales haven't gone down at all. Sales are down 3%. But things are lasting more because we have a lot more inventory.
And how much have prices dropped in your market?
3 or 4%. Not bad.
3 or 4%. So big difference than Cam's market, right?
Yeah, Cam had hurricane stuff to deal with, and we're very blessed over here. I'm going to knock on wood when I'm saying this. Where we live in Brevard County, Melbourne, Cocoa Beach, we don't get hurricanes really. They hit us directly and that's why they built the Space Center here.
Yeah.
The last time they did I think the last time Brevard County got hit with a hurricane was 1850 something. Yeah.
So,
Sort of-
Cam, do you think your market has declined because of the hurricanes? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mitch, we used to say the same thing. So let's all knock on wood there because we never got,
That's
we
why I
never
knocked
got
on
a
wood.
hit
Oh
down
yeah,
here.
100%.
I know. I used to tell the Noah's Ark story. It's like if it comes up from the bottom, we got bigger worries. And guess what? We did. But so a couple of things real quick, Matt. Yes, the answer to that question is we had multiple contributing factors that have led to the decline in prices in our market. The biggest one being is that we were the most affordable, farthest south communities that you could get the best weather and still be the best price. So, prior to the boom of during COVID, you could still find a beautiful home that was 25 minutes from the beach for $300,000. If you wanted a pool, it was 360. No one could do that. Plus, the one thing about our area down here, which is why it's so incredible, is we are very unrestricted, meaning that you can rent it out nightly, weekly, daily, whatever you want for a majority of the homes, not all the homes, but a majority of the homes. So when COVID started, or right around that time in 2018, 2019, we had a huge influx of investors that were diversifying from other parts of the country. Because the margins were just getting tighter in other areas, and our area down here did not see that competitiveness. Plus, because we are a second home tourist market, blah 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 blah, the amount of possible income that you could generate from these homes was something that you just couldn't do in most places. So during the start of COVID, we had a huge influx of, let's call them institutionalized or just big time investing companies, not hedge funds, because those have only moved in the last like 12 months. But we had investors that were coming down here buying, 10, 15, 20 homes at a time because they were going to put them into different types of rental portfolios, or they were using them for investment sake. Because of that, our market has now caught up to our Naples market, which is the richest county in the United States. Very expensive homes. Obviously, average home price is right under $900,000 here in Naples or Collier County. The rest of our markets, which are Lee County, caught up to that during COVID, and they've seen this huge spike. I mean, it looks like Nvidia's stock market graph. I mean, it just prices were like this, and then COVID, and they just shot up. Well, with that said, and then with the hurricanes that happened in 2022, we had a year and a half that the tourism market down here, the Airbnb type market, really struggled because our biggest draws come down to the beautiful beaches, and without the beautiful beaches, they got flooded. I mean, we had 15-foot waves going over our beaches. It looked like the Jurassic Park movie. It was like Armageddon. Terrible, obviously. Terrible, very, very, very destructive. So we had that going on. We had a huge influx of people speculatively buying just for investments. And then obviously the storms. Plus, obviously, no one really needs a fourth home here in South Florida. It's not where they live. No one really lives here. It's all vacation, second home investment. So we did see a big hit there. I think the reason that we're seeing the price declines that we're seeing. So right now we're at like 30, 35% from our all-time peak, might even be 40 in certain areas, right? The more investment focused areas got hit even harder because people bought more there. Was that it wasn't just the hurricanes, it wasn't just the overall economy, which, I mean, during COVID, people were paying off their home in 3 to 4 years with just Airbnb revenue. It was crazy. We were getting 15, 17% cap rates. It was great. Good for them. But because of that, obviously most people over leverage. But the bigger challenge is that you had the storms that hit, the hurricane that hit us directly, which destroyed our main tourist attraction being the beach. We had an over investment, or just too many investors buying out all the homes to put them on Airbnb. So they had a huge spike of Airbnb-able properties. And then 3 is that these platforms, right, like Airbnb and VRB and all of them, have continually gotten more and more and more outrageous. Meaning that, you get a $300 a night room on Airbnb, and now the darn extra fees that you're paying are $250 a night for it. And people go, well, now that's not $300, it's actually $550. This is kind of bogus, and I'm not going to do that when I can go to a hotel and spend $150 or $200. Or if you want the nicest hotels we have down here, they were typically comparable to our Airbnb rates. So you can stay at the the not the Four Seasons, that's like $800, but you can stay at like the Westin, or you can stay at some of the fancy, really nice hotels that have the pools and they got the slides and they got the, bar service and all that kind of stuff cheaper now than you can stay at these Airbnbs when all of the fees are added on to the individual night rate. So with those three contributing factors, it just has become not profitable to own 18, 20, 25, 100. We have some investors down here that have 100 plus doors of single family homes, and it's just simply not being profitable. So when the investors all backed out, we're kind of going back to our normal market, which is people that have the desire to have a second or third home down here. They're normal people. It's not people that are just gobbling up stuff trying to be extremely greedy. So those are the reasons that we've seen our prices so far drop the way they have. But you have to remember that prior to the pandemic, prior to the storms, we were a very inexpensive market. I mean, that was the dream, is you could be in South Florida, right across from Miami, and you're paying prices like if you were in, I don't know,
Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio. Exactly.
Yeah,
I was going to say
fantastic.
Indiana, but yeah,
a dream.
close.
Exactly. One thing I want to say though, before I jump out or let you guys kind of grab on here is, Matt, what have you said? Because I know you said that events have been big for you. I'm the same. As I've went to a ton of events, and I've like Gail. I met Gail at one of the Mike Ferry events like 15 years. It was incredible, right? And you can have lifelong business partnerships, friendships that come from it. What would you say your favorite or the best events that you've been to that you'd recommend everyone go to?
Oh, I would say, well, I haven't been to a Craig Proctor event in a long time, but I think he's really good. I think, Tom Ferry is also good. Honestly, I'm not that familiar with, we just did a call with a gal that spoke, and this might be an option for next week, Mitch, but a gal that spoke she was the last speaker at Inman, and most of the people had already left because it was Friday afternoon, and she bills herself as the queen of AI, and her name is Carrie Soave, Soave, and she's actually an
I know
EXP
her.
agent.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
She's great.
she was really, really good. Yeah, I've always been kind of a Craig Proctor guy, although, and like I always say everything works and nothing doesn't. So, it doesn't matter whether you take the Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry approach. And there's a lot of aspects to that, but I guess in the old days, a big part of that used to be cold calling, right? Which, still works. Craig Proctor is more about, running unbranded, under the radar advertising. But they all have good stuff, That's why I was curious about you. You must have, and there must be a lot more expireds in your market now, right? Compared to what there was during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, right now we have 750 or so expires a day. 200 250 around new listings and about 200 sales. So our inventory is still growing, even though we're having all these expireds, and we're having about 700, 800 a day. We've picked up 10, maybe 11 listings in the last week. I don't know the exact number, but we're getting unlimited listing appointments, unlimited listings.
How are you going after expireds?
On the phone.
What do you do? Just on the phone.
We're doing, yeah. So we have, we're doing the old Mike Ferry thing. It's calling, emailing. There's no science. It's just talking to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Get a hold of 25, 30 people a day, and you'll get as many listing appointments as you can do in a week. And the good news right now is that, like everyone, the expireds are a gold mine. If you do them, if you're just willing to do them, even if you don't want to call people, just email them. Like, just contact these people, because the truth is we have 70,000 agents here in Florida, or about 70,000, maybe even more than that. There's only 10 of them in our market here, 10 agents that are actively working these. So you can become one of the top 10 agents in your area just by working these group, and you have unlimited people to work right now. And we're not seeing this slowing down. I mean, I can see this going into short sales. It can go back into this is where we are going. It's already been kind of projected there. So My goal for our team down here is to just get as much market share as you can, because I'm in the belief that when you hold listings, even in a buyer's market, you will get buyers from it, and you have to just create a huge pool of listings that are sitting. Yes. And you're constantly doing the weekly price reduction thing. But that is how you generate the buyers. That's how you keep the business going. And that's how you create some stability when you're in a market like ours, which is truly a 100% buyer's market. You have a buyer that's got cash or they're qualified, you can come in and offer just about anything you want with any terms you want. It's 45-day closings, 60-day closings, whatever you want. I mean, you just offer it, and these sellers are thankful now. With that said, is if you get a whole database of sellers that are listed with you, you're able to consistently get one offer here, one offer, just like right now, we have 11 new listings, and I think 3 of them are under contract this past week because, they submit offers, someone else does, you do,
Right.
you can make it work. AI seems like a really big thing right now. You said that, Matt, and it seems like everyone's really excited about the AI and how it can help us continue growing and continue kind of scaling and all of that. Again, I'm trying to always be the forefront of technology. I like to be the one that's on the social media, and I know all the stuff that's working, and I love AI. But what's working for us right now is like picking up the phone and talking to people again, like actually conversing with them. And that's no one wants to hear that. That's why I think AI is so big right now. Is everybody wants to hear the easier way, but it's you got to make the connections, you got to make your calls, you got to be hitting your numbers, and then it all just comes together. Just like everything, like Mitch was saying, it's like if you have the basics going for you, if you have the foundation, not just in business but in life, then you realize it's up to you. You do the work, you have the success, and you can get through anything. I think a lot of us, I think a lot of people, a lot of solo agents, smaller agents, they just forget that. They think that there's like some alternative thing out there that's working for them when really it's them. They're the one that's working. They're the ones that make everything move. And it's going to be an interesting market I'm a little concerned, Mitch. What you said earlier, don't worry about things you can't control, really struck a nerve for me, because I'm a little concerned for everyone, being that a lot of
let me touch on that real quick, Cam.
Yeah,
this
go for
is
it.
important too. So I think all you guys know I'm a business person way before I'm a realtor. Real estate happens to be my product in the last 24 years, but I've been in 18 different industries or 16 different industries, and there's only one consistent thing. Was three consistent things. I'll give you all 3 of them real quick. One is we are in the lead generation business. That's it. You're in the lead generation business. Yeah. Every product has the exact same lead cycle: capture lead, nurture lead, close the sale, create a customer for life. Every product in the world. I don't care what you're selling. And I think it's really important that you also understand adapting. So I'm going to give you a quickie on this. And by the way, my 2 fellow panelists here may not agree with me on this. So in 2006 is when the crash really started in Florida. It wasn't 2008. 2008, it caught up. The rest of the world caught up. But we started in 2006. I had just started my brokerage a year before. I had 100 listings, and one of them is sold for, I want to say, 4 or 5 months. And so what happens when the consumer starts yelling at the agents? They stop answering the phone call. So who do they call? The broker, right? So I'm getting literally every day 3 or 4 people yelling at me. Your agent won't answer that phone. I go, well, you're an asshole. That's why. I didn't say that. I was nice and politically correct about it. And but I sat back. I took a step back to get a business person. I said, all right, even though all I've been taught in real estate is list to exist, I said, we are not going to take any more listings. And in 2006, January 2006, we stopped taking listings for 4 years. And I said, we're going to be a buyer brokerage. We're going to be the best damn buyer brokerages in the world. And that's what we upped. I increased my marketing budget for leads from 5,000 to 10,000 a month. I mean, we just changed everything, built our database from 50,000 to 150,000 people in our database. And we grew. And by the way, everybody told me I was going to fail. Like all my friends who are other brokers in the area, oh, that's stupid, Mitch. You got a list to exist. I go, I don't know. To me, if I put a loaf of bread on the shelf for 6 months, it's going to look really crappy at the end of 6 months. And I'm probably not going to eat it. So, anyways, we made that shift. Pretty ballsy move because it's totally anti what they tell you in real estate. However, we grew 20% a year during the crash. When everybody else, all my friends, not all my friends, but several of my friends went out of business. Most of my friends got jobs who were in the business because they couldn't sell anymore. So when you're thinking about the market and what it is today, it is a buyer's market. So I'm not telling you not to get listings, because listings do create buyers. But I would be focusing, my opinion, by the way, I'd be focusing more on how do I get a qualified buyer? Because right now, a qualified buyer is gold, right? And when you're talking to buyers who are hesitant because of the interest rates, which I think we're down around 6.5 right now, 6 3/4, right? So it's not that bad. By the way, if we go under 6, it's going to be a problem too. And here's what I'd be telling you buyers right now is I know you're a little hesitant because the interest rates are 6.5, 7, whatever they are. However, the home you can buy today for $500,000, you're probably going to get for 450, 475. When the market comes back, if those interest rates go like they're trying to artificially lower the rates again, if they artificially lower rates under 5 or down to 4 again, that $500,000 house you'd be paying 550, 600,000 for. This is the best time for a buyer to buy a house right now we've seen since the crash. And we don't have a crystal ball, right? I don't know what's going to happen. You have the tariffs, you have the economy. Some part of it's firing really, really well. Some parts of it's not. There's no crystal balls. I mean, the government is what it is today for the next 3.5 years, and it'll change again in 4 years or 3.5 years. Who knows where it'll go? It doesn't matter. But if you build a business based on flexibility and adapting, you'll never suffer. And I've done that my entire life, and that's what really want to get to you guys. Is there's a lot of opportunity out there right now if you find the buyers. Open houses to me. If I was in real estate selling houses right now, I'd be doing open houses every Saturday and every Sunday. If you haven't seen my open house webinar, go to my How to Make $100,000 a Year Working 4 hours a day on my YouTube channel. It's there. So anything else you want to add before we cut it up?
I got one more. One of the best events, Matt, and you said this with Craig Proctor, which I've been to 2 or 3 of his events a long time ago. One of the best events I ever went to was Joe Stump's. You guys remember Joe Stump? I don't even he's still around. By referral only. And it was just about working the past clients you have, your friends, family, and all of that, which, Mitch, like you were just saying, I think buyers are the key, and you just got to find a good avenue, which we do it through our listings. We get listings to get buyers, or you can do it through social media, or you can do it through outreach, whatever you want to do to get the buyers. They're gold mines right now. But I do believe really working your sphere, working the people that you have worked with in the past, do that follow-up that we've been missing out on, and you will have business that comes to you. It's just, you got to start doing it. You got to start doing something. So I think that the buyer referral only thing, ask those people for help. Ask your past clients, you really need some help, right? Ask them. And then tell them, who do you know that I can help work with that's potentially interested? I think Joe Stump was great, though. He was one that we really modeled our business after for many, many years. And good for everybody. If it's someone that you're looking into, you're wanting some more ideas, maybe do it a little differently than you're doing it. I love the buyer referral only program.
Yep. All right, guys. Matt, anything else for you? We hop off?
No, the guy, Brian Buffini, kind of does that program now. He was at Inman also, but he's the buy referral guy. I don't think Joe Stump's still around.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
I didn't know if he was or not.
The one thing you guys all have to look at is your database. You all have plenty of business sitting in your database. You just got to work it. It's not that hard. All right, guys, we'll have a wicked awesome week. And next week we are going to talk about attraction. We've had several people reach out and want us to talk about attraction. I know some of you may not be with EXP and may not want to be on that, but if you're not with EXP, you should be. And this is how we grow your organization, whether you like it or not. I mean, some people really like myself. That's what I do. I have over 2,000 agents in my organization. And there's other people that have 1 or 2 or 3 people, but an extra $2, $3, $4, $500 a month, $1,000 a month doesn't suck. We'll talk to you all later. Have a great week. See you guys.
See you guys.